Gerald Rogers, founder of the Legendary Tribe. Today we're going to be talking about one of the foundational principles of Legendary. As you know, the purpose of Legendary is to help you become the most powerful version of you. And in order to do that, there's a couple core principles that allow us to show up most powerfully in our life. So today we're going to be talking about the principle of radical responsibility. What is radical responsibility? Let's face it, most of the world has been entrained with this idea that things happen to them, and that's the reason they don't have what they want. You know, we call this emotional victimhood. What is victimhood? You know what victimhood is. Victimhood is any time we blame someone else for the results we're experiencing in our life. And let's face it, it's really easy for us to do. It's really easy to blame, someone that says something mean for making us feel bad. It's really easy to blame the person that cuts us off in traffic for us getting angry. It's really easy to blame the economy for us struggling at our work, or blaming our boss, or blaming our spouse, or blaming our kids, or blaming, it's so easy to blame external things for the results in our life. But I want you to notice how that feels. How does it feel when you blame other things for what's happening for you? Well, obviously it's your garden, so it's your responsibility. But what if someone else, threw weed seeds in it or something, And it's kind of an interesting analogy, but I want you to really think about this. When you're blaming someone else for the results that are showing up in your life, when you're blaming out someone for the fruits that are showing up in the garden of your life, it makes you powerless. It puts you in a space of victimhood where it is impossible to change. So one of the fundamental laws of transformation is this: we must take accountability for our results. Without accountability, change doesn't happen. Change is impossible to happen when we believe that someone else is responsible for the problem. Because if someone else is responsible for the problem, that means they're the only one that has the solution. But here's the gift: when we claim radical responsibility for our life, when we take full ownership and sovereignty of what we're creating and what's showing up in our garden, then all of a sudden we have power to change it. Now, I want to emphasize, it doesn't mean that bad things don't happen to us. I get that there are legitimately times in life where you might be the victim of someone else's choices. But there's a difference between being a victim in a moment versus being a victim long-term. While we can't always control what happens to us, we always have power what happens through us and what we gain from that situation. So the mission of radical responsibility is to once again claim and own, and I want you to say this with me: I am responsible for the results of my life. I am responsible for the results of my life. I am responsible for the results of my life. And what does that mean? If you have results in your life that are not what you want, if you're in a broken relationship, or if you're in a crummy job, or if you're in a situation where you're sick and overweight, guess what? Who created that? Absolutely. Your choices led you here. But when you can own that, it's not about taking blame. Blame and responsibility are different. It's not going into shame and thinking that you did something wrong, but it's like, oh my gosh, if I created this, that means I can create something different in the future. And just notice how liberating that is. Notice how liberating it is. And it's almost like we're like stepping from the passenger seat back into the driver's seat of our own life. It's like, wow, if I created that, I know I can create something better because I am able to respond. I'm responsible in my life. And sometimes it's hard because not everyone's going to show up the way you want them to. Not everything in life is going to happen the way you want them to. But when you claim and own radical responsibility for your life, you will be liberated and you'll be able to then begin creating the change and transformation you want. So as a member of this legendary family, make the commitment to take radical responsibility for who you are, for what you do, and for the results that show up in your life, and watch what happens. So once again, this is Gerald Rogers reminding you, this is your life, so make it legendary.